Beginning on Monday on New Mexico PBS, we will air the series Cancer, the Emperor of All Maladies. It's based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning book of the same name, and this Ken Burns documentary looks at the history of cancer and modern research. Go to NewMexicoInFocus.org to find more information and a link to a special online wall where people are posting their stories about dealing with cancer. And there are many New Mexico doctors and researchers who are playing a role in national and international research on cancer treatment. Our producer, Sarah Gustavus, sat down with one.
Dr. Angela Wandiger-Ness, thanks for sitting down with us today.
Nice to meet you, Sarah. Glad to be here.
Cancer is such a huge issue. There are many different kinds of cancers, lots of different kinds of research going on across the country. Let's start with you and your research on using approved drugs to stop the spread of cancer, some new ways to look at drugs that are already out there and available. Why is that an important area to study?
So we discovered a new drug that is actually approved for use for pain relief. But what we found out is that it also has a different target, and therefore it has another kind of activity in cancer and can stop the spread of cancer cells.
Why does that matter?
That matters because oftentimes if you find a new drug, it requires a lengthy process of testing, gaining Food and Drug Administration approvals. That can take decades. And so having a drug that's already been through that process, already been vetted, can come to market quicker.
And does that also offer some comfort to patients who might be concerned about the types of drugs that they're getting?
Sure. I mean, drugs that have been on the market for a while, you know what any potential side effects might be, and so you can anticipate what you might be expecting from that drug, as opposed to a new drug that we know of drugs that have been pulled because of side effects.
What are some other innovations that are happening in New Mexico right now, especially at the UNM Cancer Center?
The UNM Cancer Center is a world-class facility. It's one of 68 centers in the country that have received special funding from the National Cancer Institute, and we have some leading oncologists here that are treating all kinds of cancers.
And you are particularly interested in supporting students in New Mexico, young people, to get into this field, to consider science, to consider becoming a doctor or a cancer researcher. Why is that important to you?
So like many of us who are in science, we were encouraged early on by a mentor or a special teacher who reached out their hand and showed us what it was all about. And so these programs are about getting young people into a research setting, into a lab with working scientists, so they know what this career might look like and would they be interested.
We talk a lot about the need in New Mexico to have trained young people, people with skills, with technical skills that are ready for challenging jobs and challenging new potential things here. How is growing our own students, growing our own young people who might go to school here, enter something like cancer research, and stay here? Is that an effective way to look at it?
Absolutely. In science, we often move around a lot, but there's also incredible value to having the people who know the community, who are really embedded in their communities, come to work with us because they complete the cycle. Come, learn new things, go back to their communities. They're really vested in New Mexico. And we have a really special place here. People love to be here. People who come here and want to stay here never leave. And so it's really important to train our own as well as recruit others to come.
What's the best age to reach out to a young person to get them interested?
So we're beginning with, ideally middle school, but we're beginning with high school and moving on through undergraduate, graduate, and postdoctoral fellow level. So we're building these pipeline types of programs, and the benefit of that is that you have near-peer mentoring. You have role models who are closer to the age than maybe some of the senior faculty of the young people, and getting them on board and excited.
Why is cancer research and treating cancer an important part of making New Mexico healthier in general?
So cancer will probably affect 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women in their lifetimes, and it's a huge burden and in some cases a preventable disease. So it's really important to do both outreach and education as well as research and finding the cancers early and treating them effectively.
The UNM Cancer Center is not the only cancer center in the U.S. There are others around the country. How are you working with those researchers in other areas to share information and knowledge?
So the UNM Cancer Center is part of this national network through the funding from the National Cancer Institute that has designated us as an official cancer center. It's the only one in the state of New Mexico. Then they're networked with those folks, but most recently we joined a group called Orion, and that's through the Moffitt Cancer Center, and will involve 6 first-round participants, including the University of New Mexico Cancer Center, and through that they're going to bring state-of-the-art genome sequencing of cancers that can help to promote better therapies and individualized therapies for patients.
You're also a research ambassador to Germany, and so how are you reaching out to colleagues abroad, and what does that mean for the kinds of innovations that we might see here in New Mexico?
I'm a first-generation American, and my parents were German and immigrated to the U.S., so I have gone back and forth to Germany a lot. I did a postdoctoral fellowship abroad, and so becoming a research ambassador to Germany and telling students here about wonderful research opportunities abroad that can broaden their horizons, and then they can come back to New Mexico with a broader perspective of the world and of themselves.
We've talked a lot about cancer research, about the science of it. There's also a very human element of cancer, of people experiencing this in their families or with their close friends. How do you personally balance the two of those? You're looking at something that you know is having a real impact on people.
So, as you said, most of us have suffered a family member with cancer. My own father died of liver cancer, and many families unfortunately suffer from this. And so that motivates me and my colleagues to do better, do the basic research that will lead to better therapies for patients. And that's really important to me at this stage of my career. How does it translate into medicine and to patients?
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.